Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. It's markets in the morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Monday, August 21st, 2023. It's Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin price chart, XRP price chart, altcoin market, as we get ready for the United States stock market to open up in the next 2 minutes. So of course, we'll take a look over there at the stock market. We'll take a look at gold, the dollar, various other things, and then take a peek over there at the news and see what's going on out there in the financial world and if there's anything going on in the crypto world in regards to news as we get ready to kick off the week. So let's go ahead and just dive right on in. First things first, if you want to follow me over here on Twitter or x.com, you can follow me at BCBacker. This is the only social media that I do use. I'm not actively using Instagram, and I don't go around DMing people trying to get you to send me your crypto, so don't do that. Just follow me on Twitter at BCBacker. Of course, you guys can always check out bcbacker.com. It's my website with my course. Over 40 videos, over 11 hours of content. Now, as we get ready to kick off the week, we can see that Bitcoin still sits at about $26,000 coming off of last week's liquidity insanity, in which within 5 minutes, we performed practically an entire FTX collapse in 5 minutes. So wild, wild day that happened last Thursday, but prices have been able to remain steady and hold there throughout the weekend and the last several days. So it's kind of a good sign. I did do a members stream this weekend. We went through a couple of different things as some of the data was starting to become a little bit more clear, but still the prices have not really changed much throughout the market. But we can talk about a couple of things happening in here as we get ready for the stock market to open, which just did right now. Let's take a look at how the stock market is opening. The stock market is opening flat. So 1 point to the upside for the Dow. Break even, S&P's up 11 points, Nasdaq's up 70. So, okay, that's cool. We didn't go crazy right into the opening. We'll dive into the stock market here in just a moment. One thing to take a note of that when it came to that big move that happened there for Bitcoin is that if we kind of go through history and look at how oversold Bitcoin is, how big of a liquidity event that actually was that happened there in those 5 minutes. There's only been 2 other times in the last 7 years where Bitcoin has gotten this oversold on the daily time frame. That's going to be during C19, and that's going to be during the capitulation event of 2018. Just based on time and how long we've been working through this thing, we're just beyond what would be perceived as the capitulation event of crypto. That really would have been back in June. Some people will argue FTX, but you look at things like Ethereum, you look at XRP, you look at Litecoin, you look at Binance Coin, you look at Dogecoin. These things all bottomed back in June of last year, and the indicators compared to history all indicate that as well. Even though Bitcoin did dip from 17.7 to 15.6. The market just in general, even the altcoin market cap all bottomed back here in June. That's the last time we got this oversold here throughout the market. And that really does reflect more of just based on time, us going through the capitulation event happening in here. So moving on to another one and having just like a liquidity-based event. The last time we had a liquidity-based event like this would really be C19 back there. So I've already pretty much recorded an entire video this morning. We do dive into this, but it's an interesting thing to take notice of is that even Luna and UST, Three Arrows Capital, Celsius, BlockFi, all that collapsing, all that good stuff did not get as oversold as we did just last Thursday. Even the FTX collapse did not get as oversold as we did last Thursday on the daily time frame. We've not seen any type of meaningful bounce come out of here just yet. But it's interesting to take notice that each time we get this level of oversold, it seems to mark at least a pausing point for some time period. In 2018, market reversal, 2020, market reversal, 2021, right? No, this January 2022, just pause for 4 months before it rolls over, and then in 2022, it's still the bottom for a lot of the coins and for the altcoin market cap, but as you know, Bitcoin did dip a little bit lower. Either way, slightly lower. Either way, this level of oversold has tend to represent a pause. But so interesting to take notice of that in there for Bitcoin. We'll dive into that in the video today. We'll dive more into all this stuff too. But as we know, where was the breaking point, right? The breaking point was getting through here. This is where the liquidity crunch began over the course of the next 5 minutes after we got a very clean break right on through. The thing about the Dow Jones Industrial Average, if you caught it last week, I can't remember if I included this in the video last Friday. I think more I was like, hey, we just need to see how the stock market's going to close. And the stock market did close okay last week. It was able to hold in here and hold the same level that Bitcoin was at, that it broke through and that it crumbled through in a structural setup. We're going to dive into this in the video today too. But we were able to hold there for the Dow on top of that level. Also, the Dow was able to close above all the previous weekly closes that it was stuck underneath for the last 7 or 8 months. We can measure it. Why not? Why just guess? I'm just in here. How long is this? 231 days. 231 divided by 30. 7.5 months. So yeah, 7 to 8 is an appropriate thing to say. That we were stuck underneath here. The weekly candle did close on top, so somewhat of a back test at this point. Not only did we hold on top of the support where we saw Bitcoin crush through, we held on top of the weekly closes, and we held on top of the 3.618 Fibonacci extension. So we're okay so far here for the stock market. So we'd like to see some green return this week and stability to arrive after an epic week last week. Take notice too is that when we did have the liquidity event happen in Bitcoin and in the cryptocurrency market, it also was in the biggest day as we're heading back to the support. This was the biggest sell-off day in the stock market, was then last Thursday as well. So creeping and then excessive oversold happening in here. But so far, stabilizing to start the new week. You can see the NASDAQ is up 105 points. We see the S&P is up 19 points and the Dow is up 55. So 0.75% for the NASDAQ, 0.5% for the S&P, and a little under 0.25% there for the Dow. So okay week, okay start to this week so far for the Dow as we just opened 5 minutes ago. We'll dive more into this into today's video, but that's definitely something we want to see. So it makes sense we come back to hit a pivotal support level to be able to bounce and continue higher. That would be the excessive flush to end up happening in here. And what did we see? We saw crypto take it pretty good on the chin over there. So Bitcoin, we got you most oversold we've seen since C19. Now looking at reversals, right? So of course, if we go back and look at this on what 2023 has been like in here, every reversal has been aggressive. So I think that's going to be the thing everybody's kind of keeping their eyes out for. It's the thing that I'm watching out for too. Each time we've come down here, each time we've had some type of negative news, what do we get? We got Elon, you got Evergrande. I think even today we had Chinese government did a rate cut, right? So we're getting some negative news happening down in here. We've seen reversals come very aggressively. So I think the big thing to be watching for right now is, hey, is this thing reverse out of here very aggressively? Or are we witnessing something like what we saw back in 2021, or excuse me, early 2022, when this thing really paused out and just meandered down in here? If you meander down in here, you're setting yourself up for more of a break. So cheering for a quick reversal out of here as we have through all of 2023 is likely the most ideal thing to cheer for. As for XRP, I talked about this over there on Twitter, but I also talked about it in Members in the Morning. I went and posted a tweet after we did that live stream Saturday morning, the anatomy of a completed correction and what we've had happening here. Now, of course, this is, let's see, which chart can I use that we've already gone through? I'll use this one. Of course, we see stellar lumens come in here and hold the support level that we are cheering for XRP, right? So during the massive move, where does Stellar come back? It just completely slams right into here and bounces off the level of the breakout level happening in here. But as we know, XRP did no such thing. XRP decided to continue going through. So if we look at like the anatomy of what full-blown corrections look like in here, we've got Bitcoin from 2014 and 15. You've got the altcoin market or the cryptocurrency market from 2018 to 2019. For those who've been with the channel for a long time, you rode through through 2019, 2020, 2021. You went through the whole bear of 2020 on this channel, right? Just terrible long period. You went through the euphoria of 2021. You watched all the new people pour into the market with laser eyes and diamond hands. One of the things we always talked about in 2020 was called the rally prior to capitulation happening in here. And that these are called the rally. That's a term I deemed the rally prior to capitulation. Even in the legacy course of bcbacker.com that was recorded in 2020, a lot of my discussions were based around this, and that we even ended up seeing the total market cap of cryptocurrency run up that high, and it actually ended up pinpoint nailing the 4.236 extension by using this rally in here as our measurement tool. And that Elon Musk went on Saturday Night Live like the day it hits the 4.236 extension. It was just, if you adds to that puppet masters, puppet strings, and simulation stuff. But this would be the anatomy of what we would have happening here in XRP. And what did we witness happening in here? You witnessed the leverage flush out, the capitulation, the forced selling happening where things get stretched too far and all margin, all leverage gets destroyed from the market. And that does appear to be where we are with XRP. So the good news is the downward action seems to have tamed itself. It seems we're in that. Now we're just in kind of the settling period. And, you go through these and like, we talk about how emotions are always important. The thing that's going to likely happen, you look at just the next couple of weeks, right? People see this and say, oh, no, that took a whole year. Oh, that took a whole year. Yes, but this is only stretched out over 30 days, right? This is stretched out 365 days. This is 365 days. This is 30 days. So it's not going to take as long as what we've seen. You're looking at hopefully maybe 30 days before you start shuffling your way back up. But what you do see for the people who are prepared to like battle the emotions is the flip that will happen over there on Twitter. So just kind of mentally prepare yourself for that. You're probably going to see boredom, frustration. I can't believe we're below the price of when the SEC lost the lawsuit. XRP was deemed not a security. I'm so mad. I see stellar lumens bouncing. I'm so frustrated. Just kind of having to get through that moment right in there. But the things do indicate that was the final flush out. That was the complete done. We could do our measurements for our zigzag. When you get a liquidity flush like that, that tends to be the marking of the bottom. So that's the best sign. The tough sign, of course, for most, hey, there's going to be probably a little period of waddling around happening in here for XRP for just a minute before we get our way back up. But hey, it's nice to at least say, hey, looks like we got there. that was the excess. Looks like we got there. We can start shuffling our way back up. As for XRP versus Bitcoin, we spent some good time talking about this. I had taken a stab at this with 20% of my Bitcoin last week on flipping from Bitcoin to XRP. Now, I dove deep into this in like live streams, and I dove deep into this in actual video. That, if we had gone more than 4% beyond the moving average, then it would invalidate the idea. So we can go back and look and see how reactionary it's actually been. Oh, no, I lost it. Okay, come on. And XRP BTC. We'll go to, there we go. We're on Binance. Okay. If we go look at how reactionary it has been, whenever it's acting as a support or acting as a resistance, it stays within 4%, right? So we've talked about this last week. We said if it gets to more than 5%, then the idea will be invalidated. So I don't even know how much we got, but we definitely got beyond 5%. Let's take a look here. You got 17% beyond it. So we get back here. I went ahead and posted on Twitter yesterday. I've now unwound that. That has been reverted back to Bitcoin, and I'm going to wait for another chance for something clear to show up. My intention is totally to get nearly all the Bitcoin that I got during the FTX collapse into XRP, but I need something clean for me to be able to do it. So fortunately, I was able to go ahead and revert that back with like a 1% gain. But the idea of the 200-week moving average being the support, we can see it. We set rules of invalidation for it last week. You go more than 5%, it's invalidated. We went 14%, it's invalidated. Time to let it breathe to figure out how long this is going to take. When I look over here at what we talked about also last week, when you're talking about the safety trade or the FOMO trade, when it comes to the like flock to safety index when it comes to Bitcoin dominance plus Ethereum dominance plus USDT plus USDC. Still fully in the camp. This thing is totally topped. I think the Bitcoin dominance has totally topped completely. Just needing to see this thing kind of settle. And what we know is we can now just kind of waddle sideways like this for a little while too. So looking for a clear setup for me, for my Bitcoin to go into XRP. I do intend for most of it to at some point. Just need a clear setup because that one didn't work, right? 200-week moving average is not behaving as a support. So we move on from it. But what I do think is that we're probably waddling around in here. I think I saw this too. Let's take a look at there. Let's add that. See if it'll load. You can see price did at least settle on top of the 200-week moving average for US dollars. So XRP does sit on top of the 200-week moving average for USD. While it did wick below there during the liquidation event, it is back on top currently right now. Still, my thoughts on this, probably going to shuffle sideways for a little while, but this thing is completed. It has the anatomy of what completions do. You can see those for yourself and play with them all you want. You should come to the same conclusion. Looking over here. Okay, so let's go back through it. So we see stellar lumens hold its support. We've seen Bitcoin go the most oversold that we've seen since C19. We've seen XRP do the anatomy of a completed correction. And we have the Dow Jones and what we're watching today to see if we do end up holding these levels right in here. Remember, this is where really like the liquidations truly started kicking in over there in the cryptocurrency market. Let's see if I still have this on here. I'm pretty sure we brought this up last week. Last week, just the end of that week just became so wild. It's hard for me to remember how all the things that we did cover there at the end of the week. And we'll talk about this in today's video when it comes to this whole thing. It's just like Bitcoins. This right in here is the same. And I'm going to overlay those on top to show those as the same too when we see that. So I do, as long as we are going to hold here for the Dow, this is a normal backtest level to happen in here. Should it break through, watch out for a liquidity event. Otherwise, this is how high we went during the roaring 20s. And I think just keeping that as a base case is how I'm going to be operating when I come to doing this YouTube channel every day when I come on. Everybody has their own broader thesis, right? So there'll be people who come on to their channels and they talk about crypto, they talk about markets, but they're also in the camp of like 4-year block reward halvings, right? So their idea with a 4-year block reward halving is, hey, we still have another year of a bear market left in Bitcoin. We got to get through and for the cryptocurrency market, we've got to get through the block reward halving, which is supposed to take place like in April of next year. After that, what do we typically see? Within 2 to 3 to 4 months, except in last time it was like 7 months, right? You eventually see Bitcoin go on to an all-time high. So there's going to be people who have their base case who present their data in the manner that, we won't do anything until we get through the block reward halving, and then we go off into new all-time highs, right? That's their thesis of the whole market. There's other people who have theses of, nope, we're not waiting for that. Bitcoin's going into new all-time highs this year. And then, you have me with my base case and my thesis that we're very tied to broader markets. It has really nothing to do with the block reward halvings. I've presented my cases to show that the time correlations between breakouts in the stock market. And so my grand thesis is, where the stock market is. And understanding how high we are, and that, for a lot of people, and especially like how old would you have to be, right? Like I guess if you're like under 35, under 32 years old, like the great financial crisis wasn't really anything to you. Your entire adulthood has been this upward action, right? Let's see, if you turned 18 here, how old would you be right now? 14 years, you'd be like 32, right? So if you're like under the age of 32, your only perception of the market is up only, and that's all this is. You don't have this reference point of like this happening in here. So maybe there's like a bias that up only 4-year cycles, everything goes up because of that. But I do try to point out the concept here that if you look at how high the roaring 20s was, we are very close to being that high in the United States stock market. So my base case is based off of all of this, that we're getting near there. I'm not sure who will survive crypto related wise in that type of an event. I think it'll be interesting because I'm not sure if they're like when it comes to Bitcoin, like I stick with the idea that Bitcoin's just going to be tied to it, but there's the cryptocurrency market has really branched off into different things, whereas Bitcoin is really just this store of value thing, store of value idea that seems to react every time the stock market reacts. But sometimes we do see things like XRP don't react. And for those who have followed along too, when it comes to like super cycles, we definitely followed the super cycles of Bitcoin. And if it's true, like if Ethereum is in some type of different phase of a super cycle than Bitcoin is, that adds a very interesting dynamic to it, right? It's almost kind of contradictory to it. So it'll be an interesting time in here, but it does seem like there's a chance we could work our way back up in here, but just to kind of keep it in mind of where we all are. And I don't think anybody with a block reward having ideas, 4-year cycles ideas, takes this into consideration of where we are currently right now, that it's really just based on magic and not based on liquidity flows of broader markets. So anyway, kind of getting on a ramble and a tangent there at this point right now. But anyway, keeping our eyes on here for this level throughout this week. It'd be nice to see a reversal come out of here and, of course, take Bitcoin with it and the rest of the cryptocurrency market. But as for XRP, I do think we're going to kind of stall here for a couple of weeks. Moving on to things like gold. Gold's up slightly today. I also saw silver's above $23. That's a decent little pop there for silver, up 27 cents today. US dollar currency index kind of bouncing around here, still up against these resistances that were put place back there in July before it ended up going and breaking down the support, hitting 99.5. Not showing any signs of cooling off yet. Still just working against that support level currently right now. And now in the last hour, working its way back up in here. So still just waiting on the dollar to tell us if we're heading up to the top of this range. We head up to the top of this range. That is likely the signature move to say the bottom of the dollar is now confirmed. Should we get ourselves back into the 105s? As for news going on out there in crypto, China proposes to bring its social credit system to the metaverse. Okay. There's most fear in the market since the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. 5 things to know in Bitcoin this week. All right, we'll take a look at that. Whenever there's emotions in the market, it's always good to cover them. All right, Bitcoin starts a new week with traders licking their wounds after a 10% snap crash. Bitcoin price action is struggling to recover from a manic end to the week, and the fear is palpable going into what could be an equally volatile few days. With $26,000 so far forming the focus of the markets, theories are brewing over where Bitcoin might head next. Multiple factors are set to converge to provide some influence. The United States macro data prints are firing up again, while the Federal Reserve will deliver key commentary on the economy at the annual Jackson Hole Economic Symposium. Within Bitcoin, meanwhile, short-term holders are now face increasing unrealized losses, and on-chain transactions and loss are setting multi-year highs. Sentiment is back on the floor, but is the fear really justified? Cointelegraph takes a look at these topics and more ahead of what promises to be an interesting week for the crypto markets. The Bitcoin order book ghost town after the open interest is obliterated. While many expected volatility to kick in around the August 20th weekly close, Bitcoin produced something of a non-event. Data from Cointelegraph Markets Pro and TradingView shows within 26,300 capping the extent of its upside. A subsequent come down took the market back to $26,000 mark where it traded at the time of writing, and that is still currently where it is right now, $26,047. After a week of mayhem, traders and analysts alike remained highly cautious about the outlook, with sources referencing various triggers for new downside. Traders are still spooked, expecting more downside, Trading Suite Decent Trader wrote in an X update on August 21st. Decent Trader noted that traders were positioned short across exchanges after a major open interest wipeout during last week's drop. Funding rates continue to be negative. A contributor to on-chain analytics platform CryptoQuaint described Binance order book liquidity as a ghost town. This will open the door for volatility in case you've missed it, he suggested, alongside a chart showing liquidity and whale order volumes from monitoring resource material indicators. Martin nonetheless reasoned that upside could come as a result, given historical precedent. In the entire history of Bitcoin, there were 11 times where open interest had a similar decline as 3 days ago. Among these 11, 8 led to increased prices, whereas 3 did not. As Cointelegraph reported, overall long and short liquidations reached levels comparable to the aftermath of the November 2022 FTX implosion. Bitcoin traders weigh the consolidation scenario. Okay. Consolidation scenario. Levels. Key timing for Powell's Jackson Hole speech. While last week was quiet in terms of U.S. macroeconomic data releases, the coming 5 days promise a change of tempo. U.S. jobless claims will hit on August 24th, with home sales and other data preceding them. Volatility is officially back. Financial commentary resource to the Kobisi, I don't know how to pronounce that letter, but I follow them on Twitter, summarized to X subscribers. Traders and analysts, however, have their eyes mostly set on Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, who will take the stage at the annual Jackson Hole Economic Symposium on August 25th. So that will be this Friday. Jackson Hole is a classic venue for market volatility, and given the current climate, this year's event should be no exception. The Fed's annual Jackson Hole meeting is more important than ever this week. Powell will be joined by speakers such as Christine Lagarde, president of the European Central Bank, with both the Nasdaq and S&P 500 joining crypto in a week of losses. Historical patterns could still turn the tables, as Jackson Hole traditionally provides risk-on relief. All right, so that's what we're looking for. Boy, this is a long article. I can't read this whole thing to you guys. We'll be here for forever. All right, gives you a little clue. SEC seeks appeal over Ripple. Crypto prices plunge, and EU debut Bitcoin ETF. Okay, we all know that. The ultimate guide to password management. Frame.tech generates over $1 million in fees in 24 hours, surpassing Uniswap and Bitcoin networks. U.S. judge rules in favor of human ingenuity, denies copyright for AI art. Bitcoin on the way to paradise. 20K is back as a Bitcoin price target. Ripple CTO clarifies on SEC appeal and highlights case complexity. Okay. There you go. Moving over to CoinDesk, anything here? Bitcoin steady around 26K after sharp sell-off. Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin sends $1 million in ETH to Coinbase. All right, this is floating around out there. We'll cover this because there's zero chance he's sending $1 million to Coinbase to sell it. The dude's like a billionaire. He's not going to spook the market by sending $1 million unless there's a reason to do it. That's all you get. It pretty much was spread by that Watcher Guru guy, who historically has very inaccurate headlines. So we'll see if anything comes of that. All right, there you go. Stock futures nudge higher after another losing week on Wall Street. 10-year yield climbs as investors await Fed speaker comments and economic data. We don't have anything really today. Tomorrow you're going to get like home sales. I think everybody's really waiting probably on Jerome Powell. Jackson Hole. Major shipping routes are struggling with water shortages. El Nino could make it worse. Palo Alto networks. Okay. Run it. Why Jinping is letting China's economy flail. So that's kind of the bigger news I think that's going on out there, that the people who are focusing on macro are focusing on too, is what's happening over there in China and if that's going to have a spillover. I talked about this last week, and I can't remember if I talked about it on Twitter. It was such a blur at the end of the week last week. That it makes such a good narrative for China to be the causation of everything. It takes all blame off of any irresponsibility of anything we've done as a country in regards to leverage, in regards to lending, and all the debt we've taken on. If China is the cause of everything, So I always look for those types of narratives. That's why C19 was so good. If you're not paying attention to narratives, it is so unlikely, right? Just think about it. It is so unlikely your own government is going to let the narrative be that they were the ones responsible for everything to fall apart, because that can lead to civil unrest, right? But to have it be somewhere else, to where the group of people can all consolidate their anger and point it at one direction, and it totally be not your own government, it's the perfect narrative. And so, with C19, right, it's not the government's fault, right? And you could even point your fingers over there at China. If it becomes the economy having issues, this is a good narrative. So these are things that I do pay attention to. I'm probably going to spend my week looking more into what's really going on over there in China. Last week we got Evergrande, and now this week we do have rate cuts going on over there in China. So there's likely stuff going on over there, and that's a pretty decent narrative. Good news is Elizabeth Warren is still up to her old tricks over there on Twitter, posting that she has a bill that she has bilateral, bipartisan approval to put to the floor for a vote to force all Congress members to sell all of their stocks. Right? My plan is to make sure that all of us sell all of our stocks right now. Okay. But it hasn't passed yet. So we'll see all about that. Anyway, the leaders today over there in the stock market, Tesla and Nvidia and Coinbase. There's today Caterpillar and United Health. The Dow about flat, down 9 points or 0.03%. S&P up 0.5%. NASDAQ up 1%. So you're getting a killer move over there in the stock market. The thing about the Dow, right? The Dow is sitting at that same level right there. That's also going over there with the S&P. But S&P leading itself a little bit today, already through a little bit of a better bounce happening this morning as the day gets going. You guys like my old grandma voice? We should have to sell all of it. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's it. So that's what's going on in the news. When it comes to looking for some supports to come in, you can see Bitcoin now at a whopping 26,131 or 139, and XRP almost at 53 cents. And then, the brutal one, the heartbreaker. And I know a lot of people who own XRP also own Stellar Lumens. But to see that bounce come in there on Stellar Lumens, to nail that zone, we watched for XRP, I'll be danged. But XRP just couldn't hold it. So fortunately, it does have the appearances of total completion in there. We're just going to be kind of waddling here for a minute before we can revert our way back up and for interest to build back up again. Otherwise, the good news is, take your news how you want. Look at it from the positive side how you want. The way I look at it from the positive side, that was the flush. That was it. That's the end of the move. Otherwise, waiting for Bitcoin and hoping we can get one of these suckers to pull out of here like we have throughout all of 2023. Till then, for me today, the main focus on my radar is keeping my eyes on the stock market to make sure that we do catch ourselves a nice bounce from this zone, which we already see happening from the S&P. We even talked about this late last week, and I talked about this on Saturday in the member stream. Still just kind of waiting on the Dow to go ahead and give us that one. But we do see it on the NASDAQ. You're up over 1%. We do see it with the S&P up 0.5% this morning. Dow just kind of lagging behind this morning, which makes sense with these two, United Health and Caterpillar. I believe I know for sure United Health is in the Dow. It represents more than 10% of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And I believe Caterpillar is in there as well. So these two could be putting some weight there on the Dow this morning. Otherwise, let's go ahead and dive into the chat after I've rambled my mouth for 34 minutes. And we'll get on our way. I'll get back to my video, get to working on that to get it released for the day. Here we go. First out the gates, George Alexandropoulos, member for 2 months. Good morning, BCB. Any thoughts on the BNB FUD and potential liquidation levels? Right. So you would probably, we could talk about BNB. You would probably think that if BNB goes into full-blown collapse, it would probably be worse than FTX, right? Probably be a worse situation than that. I'm not convinced that's what is happening for BNB. I will show you a couple of charts. One, BNB Bitcoin has been sitting on top of the 200-week moving average since June. So it's been there for 2 months, holding steady on top of there. However, so you have that, right? Sitting there, and it's above a support level. It hasn't broken a support level. Like, where's the doom down support? It all really kind of resides right in here, right? So you're not anyway in like a broken support area, and you are on top of a major moving average. Looking over at USD though, whoops, it did lose it right in there, right? So it is actually below the 200-week moving average versus the US dollar. The thing to take note of though here is like what we're talking about here. No, here. Yeah, completed corrections happening in here, right? We'll usually bounce on top for a little while, then you have kind of your rally prior to capitulation, rally prior to capitulation, rally prior to capitulation. BNBs, here's its rally prior to capitulation taking place up in here. And this all pertains back to the things we've talked about throughout the last couple of years, and that peak market euphoria all happened in here. And this even was the peak of Binance Coin back in May of 2021, back with laser eyes and diamond hands and all that good stuff. Bounces around, there's the rally prior to capitulation, and there's the break, and then there's the kind of waddling around happening in here. If we add Bitcoin to the chart, oops. There's your example. Right. Here's where you are. You'd be in your spring, but it is normal to have this extra dip, right, that takes out these lows right in here for your final dip. If this thing keeps plunging, right, and if it goes and takes out the lows down here at like 184, probably pretty big watch out. But in a Wyckoff spring, you do actually expect that can happen. And so that's really where you are currently right now in Wyckoff spring, right? That you hold and then you go for the plunge down below to really find where's all the liquidity at. So keep an eye on it. If this thing, say, shoves right back up in here and then waddle, I think you got pretty much your sign. Everything is fine with BNB. I think the bigger thing to watch for is if you take out 184. You go take out 184. That's not good. We've already seen that it's taken out the 200-week moving average, and in a Wyckoff accumulation schematic, getting down a little bit lower. While Wyckoff Spring does allow you to go down and do that, I just wouldn't. With how it's held so well, I just wouldn't expect that it actually would. So I think it's actually normal of what we are seeing here for this. And looking over to BNB Bitcoin, it's held this for years as well. Take that out, and maybe we have a different story. But otherwise, I think the Binance FUD is just there, and it's kind of always be there. Kind of like the Tether FUD is always there. I've even gone through my emotional log. I think I read it last week. No, that was in my newsletter, right? Do I have it open still? That'd be cool if I did. Holy cow, I do. Let me read this. It was in May. Okay, here are May 2nd. Did I read this on the channel, guys? I'm sorry, dude. Like, it's been I don't know why my mind is so blurry from last week. May 2nd, right here. Which, if we've talked about, like, if this is the same structure, it puts us like right here, right? But here's my May 2nd emotional log update. I'm trying to remove profanity in here. I'll say, wow, it's been a while since I've updated this. It's been about 3 weeks. Not much has happened. Bitcoin is sitting at about $5,400, kind of just waiting for the next move. I expect a nasty fall down, but it's taking a while to do it. There is a bunch of Bitfinex drama regarding Tether. You know, I'd say 2020, now this is me talking, this isn't my emotional log, but back then, replace Binance with Bitfinex. Anybody around here will know that. It was always Bitfinex and Tether. Now it's always Binance and Tether, right? All right, I'm back to it. Going back into the log, it says, there is a bunch of Bitfinex drama regarding Tether, but that's kind of normal at this point if you've been in this space for a few years. There's always been drama about Tether. So I don't really know what to think of it. I'm certain that when the fall does happen, they will use Tether drama as a catalyst for the fall if the fall happens. But yeah, Tether and the fall will go hand in hand. You can see we've always had kind of the Tether FUD. Even in my logs dating from 4.5 years ago that I'm saying it's been like this for years already. So we've already seen that. And what happened with your question is pertaining to Binance, but it's not like it's their first rodeo to go through something like this. So I'm not so convinced it will because of a Wyckoff spring and because BNB versus Bitcoin is still holding on top of its 200-week moving average, and it has been for months without even wicking below it. So I'm not too convinced that BNB is really a threat yet, but it definitely makes a great headline and it rattles the core fear of people. And Tether used to rattle the fear in me. And I know it still does because that narrative will always get brought up. And it's been a little while since we've had a really good Tether FUD. But just imagine, guys, that here I am 4.5 years ago in my emotional log expecting Tether is going to be the reason why we collapse and we break down. Here we are 4.5 years later, we still do the same rodeo over and over and over and over again. And when that had happened, we already done it like 5 times of where Tether is going to be the reason for collapse. And even back then, Tether's market cap was like $2 billion, tiny. Ben 10, is there a way to calculate how much capital is poured into the market at a specific time and date? You know, that might be a good question for TXMC. I mean, the only way I'd measure it would be the increase in the market cap, which isn't necessarily like the actual number of dollars that get put into it, but the increased value at the specific time by using the market cap. But thank you, Ben. Not Oscar Hernandez, my man. BCB, life has had me busy, and it's been tough to make it in the mornings, but it is important for me to make it today. What are your thoughts on space lasers? Love you, brother. Thank you. Man, if you want to like infuriate the world, do not say on Twitter that August is a hot, dry month and that grass is dry. Don't do it. Don't do it. Thank you, Oscar. Not Oscar, sorry. Thank you, not Oscar. I miss you. XXX says, hey, BCB, didn't you say Bitcoin under 27.4 is more likely to start the plunge down? What are the thoughts of that now? Have a good day. Yeah, so where it is currently right now, absolutely. Like, not the most favorable because what you have set yourself up now is something similar to this in here, right? So you need to pull a reversal quickly and definitely not take out 24/7, right? And I don't think I ever, did I say 27.4? I was really more like 28.5. Taking out 28.5 was the worry zone. And sure enough, it did. It ended up being the liquidation place for the market. But take out 24.8, then it starts getting real sketchy, real sketchy. But there's still like some hope for things to hold and that this is the sideways consolidation like we just talked about in here, like in my emotional log, where we get back to these levels and there's a couple of big whacks back and forth that happen in here. These whacks are pretty big happening in here, but they are in the same place where these whacks were all happening at in here. But take out that low. It's going to be real hard for me to come up with anything for Bitcoin in regards to bullish scenario for Bitcoin. Be quite a challenge. Quite a challenge. But that was at 8:47, so it was almost a half an hour ago. Hopefully I already covered that. XXX. Thank you very much. Oscar Hernandez with the super sticker, my brother. Thank you very much. And your generosity. Thank you. JJ Crypto 44. BCB, I was hardcore hopium mining this weekend and noticed your inverse total XRP USD looks a lot like the fractal leading up to the 2017 XRP pump. Oh, yeah, let's check on this too. Total XRP USD. There we go. Let's throw these on. How are we looking here? I'm going to take it all off the screen. I'm sorry. I miss you. There we go. So guys, what are we talking about? We're talking about the throwback after the break of the weekly moving average, right? Throwback happens, does not close. Boom. Throwback has happened. Cannot close above for altcoin market. How about that? Total 3. I don't know about total 3. Failed it as well. Unable to reclaim it. And others all fail. Positive sign for XRP to be stronger than the remainder of the market. Both the total market cap, the altcoin market cap, the altcoin market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the altcoin market cap excluding the top 10, which takes stables out of the equation. All of them failed on the backtest, which is great. Or like they succeeded in the backtest, I guess you could say. Well, either way, they weren't able to close above the 200-week moving average after breaking below them. So that's cool. This is the one you're talking about, though, right? He's JJ Crypto 44 is saying, I was hardcore hopium mining this weekend and noticed if you inverse total over XRP USD, it looks a lot like the fractal leading up to 2017 pump. I wouldn't say they look the same, but I think what you clearly see is, you know, the break, right? But, you know, this was like torture, straight line up. This was like torture, up, torture. We haven't had straight line up yet. And really it just kind of came off of the kind of capitulation area in there. But these are the things that I do like to see because we did spend time looking at this kind of stuff in here. Looking for really kind of a throwback and kind of go like this. This is what we were talking about last week. There you go. So you can see how it, it goes back above the high quite a bit, goes back above the high or the low, excuse me. But it failed. So that's a pretty dang good sign. Navarro says, hit the like button. Thank you. I appreciate that, Nazario. Marco, the XRP maniac. Here is an interesting read about how the puppet masters do it. Silent weapons for quiet wars. More importantly, who is your favorite Pokemon card? Pokemon. All right, cool. I'll check that one out. Silent weapons for quiet wars. Favorite Pokemon. So I was at the age appropriate time back in the 90s to play the original Pokemon on the Game Boy. And my favorite was Mewtwo because I didn't even know it existed until I'd already caught all 150 of them, I think it was. And then found out about Mewtwo and was like, dude, this is amazing. It might have only been Mew at the time, right? Then you have to level it up to Mewtwo. But definitely Mewtwo, not just Mew. There you go. Thank you. And I'll check that out. Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Oscar Hernandez, my man, says, please use the old lady voice when you end the live, please. And everyone will get the likes to 2,000. Hit the like for everyone. I don't know if everybody loves the old lady granny voice. The old lady Elizabeth Warren, who like is like, here's what's crazy about Elizabeth Warren and why she's so unlikable. Sorry if you love Elizabeth Warren, but not sorry. She's clearly an actor. She's like this evil, evil human. But she goes on TV and talks with like the granny voice of somebody who's like really nice and innocent, and then does like super corrupt crap. You know? Listen to the way she talks. She tries to talk like your sweet granny. And then she's like, but I'm corrupt AF. All right. Ben 10. And that's not political for Democrats versus Republicans. I'll take equal shots at both sides, guys. So if today was the side you got your shot taken at, sorry, guys, you're not safe on the other end of the aisle either. I'll take shots at both. All right. Ben 10 says, is it safe to say that the altcoin market hasn't set a new all-time high? Will it do with the coming bull run? Mainly asking for Bitcoin Cash and Stellar Lumens. Well, I don't know if Bitcoin Cash or Stellar Lumens will go set. It'll be more about how they're going to do when the whole market moves together. Like I was going through like H-bar, right? Like okay, without looking at charts, I'm only going to accept answers that come in within the next 15 seconds. How long was H-bar's bull run in 2021? 15 seconds starts now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Stop. Okay. It's whole bull run, right? H-bar's whole bull run. Sorry, I'm only counting this. If you want to count this little wick that happens here, this like 3 days it spends here, good for you. We're going to talk about the real bull run, which ended in March of 2021. The real percentages that were gained in the market took place from here. 69 days. About 2 weeks and 2 months and 1 week. That's the whole bull run, right? I don't think crypto is going to be any different this time around. It's just going to come with full-fledged excitement. It's going to be short, and then that's the end of it, and it's over. And we'll just have to see how a lot of these things that just aren't showing anything unique happening to them. Like at least Stellar is like showing a little bit of uniqueness in that it's like correlated to Bitcoin, or excuse me, correlated to XRP, and it did hold that support level in that breakout. Stellar has that going for it, you jerk. Whereas XRP did go through, but I think XRP is okay. It's going to have to settle for a bit, which means Stellar is probably going to settle down here as well. It's just that Stellar's consolidation level is higher, right? So Stellar's consolidation is way up here. That's its stuck level compared to where XRP's is. But just watching how they're all going to move at the exact same time. Like Bitcoin Cash is not showing anything unique in it. I get asked about all different kinds of coins in these live streams. And like 90% of them all look the same. They're in like the same kind of stuff. Same kind of dreary waiting for the whole market to rally up together. Bitcoin Cash fortunately did have like that initial lead where it popped up like 200% in a week. And went back and hit the breakdown level from the Luna collapse. So at least it's like a step ahead of a lot of the market. But we'll just have to wait to see how the whole market reacts during its hopefully it gets its time to shine and there's like a euphoria moment in the market. But to always remember, and I think that's the hard part of looking towards those moments, is when we get there, and if excitement is hitting the market, I always remember this is how it always goes. It would be like, okay, now it's time to start watching out. What you always get is a bunch of responses, and they say, dude, it just started. We just went through like 2 years of garbage. We're like 3 weeks into this. It just started and you're being bearish now. To go through it all and always look at these, and you always see it, that, they don't last very long. We go through, I even talked about this during the bull run of 2021. I said, everybody's happy, everybody's hugging each other, everybody's friendly. On Twitter, shaking hands, Twitter spaces, fist bumping. I'm like, we don't spend most of our time like this in crypto. We spend most of it like hating each other. And that's how most of the time is spent. So whenever that time comes, it'll likely be short-lived, and likely most people won't think it's the end when it really is. But the next time that big one comes, have I lost my Dow Jones chart? We'll be watching the Dow at the exact same time. So, and hopefully we can get a reversal out of here with Bitcoin. All right, I'm moving on. Kevin Smith. Hey, man, do you have any updated thoughts on Total 2 over XRP since last Thursday? Total legend as ever. Cheers, dude. Hey, brother. Thank you, Kevin. Member 1 month. I think we just covered that, man. I'm behind a little bit. You had sent this 18 minutes ago. We actually just looked at it. It looks good to me. Oscars Hermendezes. How do I sell if I get rich? Multiple exchanges, market limit orders? Jeez, bro. You are behind, sir. I'm not sure how rich you're expecting to get if we don't know limit orders and market orders or have multiple exchanges yet. Did we just put our allowance into the market and we're going to turn $5 into $5 million? I don't know what's going on here. It depends on how much you have. It depends on what your limits are at your exchanges that you do and your off ramps. But most people do set up multiple off ramps. And market and limit orders, that's up to you. A problem with a market order is just like what you saw happen over there on on Gemini, right? XRP goes to $50. Oh, the secret conspiracy of where price is really going. Market orders can clear out order books. So it can get sketchy with market orders in regards to you may end up buying or selling at a price that you're not interested in doing because the order book is too thin. So limit orders kind of help keep everything at one price. Although there may not be enough liquidity to fulfill an entire order with a limit order. That's a personal choice for you, man. I just kind of researched what are the differences between market and limit orders, and that's up to you. And multiple exchanges, depending on how much you have and what your limits are at exchanges, that's typically what most people do. JJ Crypto 44. Sorry, I mean, it looks like the actual 2017 XRP USD fractal from December 14 high to the 2017 pump. Definitely nothing of substance, huh? Well, yeah, that's what we've talked about a lot, how it has. But the thing that is a little bit, if we had bounced just like Stellar Lemons right here, they'd be like, dude, we're still right on track, but we dipped so far. And the problem with that is it just due to the whole market, right? The whole market goes through a massive liquidity event at that time, and it takes that down. Is that structural differences? We'll have to see. But this thing's still going to need more time to breathe in regards to similarities of 2017 to now. But in 2017, we did not have a liquidity crisis to break down. We would have held right here, right? This is where we would have stopped in 2017. But as we all saw, within a 5-minute period, liquidity just ravished it. So we'll have to see. I missed Daniel Crone. I'm so sorry. Member of 2 months. Does TXMC agree with you that Bitcoin will retrace before doomsday scenario? We are at a scary spot. I'd like TXMC speak for himself. So, I mean, you can ask him what his thoughts are on it. I don't want to put words in his mouth for what he thinks is going to happen with the market. But I'll let him answer that. But thank you, Oscars Hernandez says. And my thing is that more is like a troll post. There's a guy who plays in Major League Baseball named Oscar Hernandez. And then there's Oscar Hernandez right there. Hit the like button. Thank you, Oscar. And then I missed it earlier. I saw Pat. It didn't come in on my list. I saw you, man. You gave the tenor, dude. Thank you, brother. And then Andy Philpott comes in with a 5 BCB membership. Thank you, Andy. Oscar Hernandez. Adam Sod, new member, welcome. Oscar Hernandez, what is XLM inflation rate and where would it be if it does do a 4.236 extension? Let me see if I can find the inflation rate. Here we go. Stellar has a 7.65% inflation rate. I guess we can use the if it did a 4.236 extension based off of the 2017 top. It's quite a bit. But I mean, it's not like it's out of line. Like every time we look at these, it's always the same to me. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a 3,000%. But let's look at like Stellar Limit's market cap because we're talking about inflation, right? Yeah, see, inflation over the course of 5 years, right? So rather than 3,000%, it's a little bit over 1,800%. So what, 18x the current price, almost 19x the current price. What do you got, 12.5 cents, right? So 19 times, it's like $2.37 if you did a full 4.236 extension on the market cap currently right now. And I know 1,800% sounds crazy, but that's what we saw really in everything. And some of them a lot more. I've run on bcbacker.com, I ran a case study on if you had bought the market at a very particular time in the market cycle back here, right? Like December of 2019, even though it wasn't the bottom. So I ran like an example of, let's say we bought the whole market right here and sold the whole market right there. Even though this wasn't the low for the whole market, lots of stuff went lower than here. So a lot of stuff set new all-time lows, like Tron and Dogecoin set new all-time lows. So like if we compare like Dogecoin we're looking at December of 2019, goes from 0.002 to 0.0011. So, you lost 50%. I think that's what the numbers ran too. So even if you had bought here, you still lost 50%. But even most coins, like in these time periods, you think something like this, no, you should buy Bitcoin because Bitcoin is going to be the thing. Like if after C19, if you went and bought stuff like Sia coin, right? Sia coin did almost 3 times what Bitcoin did. Only into a retrace. And so these numbers we're talking about with like Stellar Limits looking like 1,800%. It sounds crazy. It sounds ludicrous, right? But even these retracement things happening in here, that's what we end up seeing. Like for Cardano, right? 10,000%. So sometimes our brains are just like 1,800%. That sounds crazy, but it's like normal. It's normal stuff that we do see. I'd be interested. What do we think the percentage is off of lows? Probably about 800% for XRP. Even XRP off the extreme C19 lows was 1,600%, 1,500%. But even if we use like right here, over 1,000% off of those lows, even in just like a retrace that didn't even go to 50, didn't even go to above 50%. So those figures aren't too ludicrous. But of course, we would likely need to see some extreme movement over there in the stock market, which looks like we're starting to kind of get waddle in there on the danger side for the Dow Jones this morning. Let's take a look at how the rest of the market is doing. NASDAQ sitting up still, and the S&P still sitting up a little bit there. We still have Tesla up 5% and Nvidia up 4%, but you got some more red in there. So this will be the focus of today, to look for a reversal come in there for the Dow and to not get through there, to keep some optimism in there. But when you see these retracements happening in the market, 1,800% isn't that crazy after these types of extremes. When you spend this much time drowning down even a retracement, like you saw for XRP over 1,000%, SupercraSY was over 4,000%. It's just kind of what happens. And Adam, I don't think I missed you. I got you, brother, but thank you for being a backer. On to Jax, remember 2 months. Wife asked what I learned from the BCB course. I look at her with a straight face and say, I'm working on my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s and ABCs right now. Nice. We're working on ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Excellent. So, all right, that's where we're at. That's where we're at today, guys. Get this back on here. It looks like we'll probably just be settled in here for just a moment, and hopefully we can get a reversal happening in Bitcoin a little bit faster than that, to alleviate some of the worry happening over there in the market. But I will have a video out here pretty soon. It isn't finished recording, so hopefully within an hour to an hour and a half, I can have that out. Otherwise, we're chilling. And I'll check in with you guys soon. We're a little bit over an hour, so let's go ahead and wrap her on up. All right, guys, that's it. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need to pick me up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Adam says no. Thank you. Well, thank you, Adam. Have a good one.